I can give maybe two examples of where WBCSD has done practical work with. The first one, if almost any city in the world you now look, congestion is one of the challenges, air quality is a challenge, and of course the move to a low carbon society is going to be another big challenge that cities need to find answers to. What we have done is, together with cities, created a framework to map how sustainable is the current mobility plan of a city, what are the key priorities in the city that the city needs to consider addressing, and what for each priority are potential solutions that business can provide. Another example is that we have noticed that many cities around the world now are building their own climate action plans. Mayors making statements that my city is going to be compliant with the Paris Agreement. We've realized, however, that less than 20% of the carbon that is emitted in a city is actually coming from sources that can be controlled by the city governments. Many cars come in and out of cities, boats, ships. There's lots of supply chains that originate far from beyond the borders of the city, but yet have emission impacts in that city. For that reason, we have said each city that has made its own climate action plan will need support from companies to cover the supply chains. And we can convene those companies. We can help the city government assess whether their climate action plan is technologically, economically viable, and then bring together companies that can actually help implement the solutions needed for that city's plan to be delivered. So that's almost a reverse type of support we are offering. One is, let's create one framework that all cities can use to look at how their mobility might change. The other is, the city already has a plan. Let us convene businesses to bring to the city to make sure that that plan can also be implemented. Let me give you another example. A very good solution for mobility of the future could be hydrogen. It's one of the alternatives to electrify the transport movements inside a city and reduce the local emissions. The problem is, who is going to invest? Because that's always the chicken and the egg, in the charging stations or the fueling stations for hydrogen when there are not yet any hydrogen cars. And why would anybody buy a hydrogen car before there is such an infrastructure in place? That's really where I think government and business need to make plans together, where joint financing can be a perfect way to do it. The government, the city government in this case, has a very clear benefit to get clean alternatives onto their streets. Business can, by doing that jointly with government, see that this might create a market which on their own they would not have. And also the citizens all of a sudden would say, hey, my city has now enough infrastructure for me to make the jump into another choice for my mobility solution. So I think we need to work closer together pre-competitively to say, what are the big solutions that are available? Can the market already now finance those solutions because the business case is clear? Or do we need to create the market? And can we do that together rather than each of us working alone how to crack that? Cities need to work together. Business needs to be brought into those conversations. Civil society needs to be a firm part of it. And we need to find ways to do it together.